Hi, everybody, and thanks for stopping by Miss B's Corner once again. I would like to thank everyone who has visited my channel, who has watched some of my videos, who have left me messages, given me the likes. I truly appreciate it. So, what that's telling me is that my content has an audience, and I want to keep giving you the content that you guys like. So, what I'm doing today, I looked at my few analytics that I have, not much, but a few. And I figured out that Social Security is a hot topic. And people, that is where most of my views came from, one of my Social Security videos. So I'm going to expound on that Social Security kind of Medicaid thing. So today what I'm going to do is talk about the administration's campaign to find fraud, waste, and abuse. I call it FWA. Might as well give it an acronym. We got everything else an acronym. So they're looking for FWA. That is the new buzzword in today's society and with the government. That's what we're looking for. And of course, once you look for it, you can find it. And you don't have to always look for it and you can find it. I worked at a corporate job for a while. Well, I didn't say, I'm not going to say for a while. I worked at a corporate job for 27 years. And believe it or not, there was fraud within our company because there were some times where we didn't have the systems that could help prevent it. So there, and then sometimes there was a way around it that people figured out that you could abuse the system without anyone knowing unless they went and looked for it. No one ever went and looked for it because it wasn't like rampant in certain areas. So I worked in the customer service area, and there was a way that people could, get checks cut and do things like that and send them out to their relatives. And it happened. And then a lot of it was shut down by access and by authorizations and things like that. But then there was also higher level abuse that, people were doing within the company also that was a little bit different to, track. They were getting kickbacks and different things like that. So yeah, there's always going to be some fraudulent activity going on. And of course, there's always waste or, you're just abusing something. So we can come off of, oh, well, they're not finding anything or they're finding stuff. They're finding stuff. And a lot of probably, I think what they're finding based on how they're going about it is it was already there and it had already been found, but you just highlight it to make it sound like, oh, wow, we just found all this abuse. So in some of my research, what I found was the OIG, which is the Office of Inspector Generals, who are responsible for investigating FWA within the government. And they have been doing that job. So what the one thing that happened, so we're saying, oh, Doge is going to go in and do this. Why did we appoint Doge when we already had an entity that was their job anyway? That is their mission. So kind of suspect, but again, I don't want to get into politics. But yeah, kind of suspects. But also, OIG, they had a lot of people who were let go also. So that kind of, takes away from their mission. If their mission is to investigate some of this stuff that you're finding, you need the people to do that because there's no way that if you said it's that rampant, you need people to actually who are trained and that can do that and find that fraud, that FWA. So that is one thing. I did listen to a podcast of a gentleman who is attorney. He works within the Social Security department. You know, he works with Social Security clients, and he has a podcast, and he went through three different fraud cases that he saw, that he pulled off of the OIG website. And they're cases that had already been found. They've already been set for prosecution, or whatever. They've already been charged. The people have already been indicted. So it's not like it's nothing new. It was already done. So if I say that Mr. Musk and his team probably have not truly found the amount of fraud that they say they found, I could say maybe they found it based on the OIG's website that already spells it out, and that they've already taken care of, and that they've already indicted. They're probably not finding anything that's new. So the old fraud is probably still sitting in the system, as well as anything else that maybe someone else is doing. So we can't say that is, that's brand new fraud or whatever, or it's old. So we can get excited about them doing that, but I'm not gonna hang my hat on the fact that they're finding something that hasn't already been taken care of. Once I listened to that particular podcast and then understood it, I'm not gonna hang my hat on it. As far as the Meta, and I took a lot of notes also, so so that I could have some kind of train of thought. So as far as the 6.2 million people that are 150 years old or more in the Social Security system. So there are, I listened to another gentleman that has a podcast, and he's a former Social Security department, a head of a department. So he kind of understands, and I'm not going to say kind of, he really understands the Social Security system. And he tells you different things about your benefits, and, go in, make sure you do this, that, and the third. And he also said, basically, there are two different systems within Social Security. There's one, I forget the name of it because I never wrote it down, but I'm going to say that it is more like an archived system. It is a system that houses every Social Security number, every person that has a Social Security number in this country, or ever had a Social Security number in this country. So if you look at it like that, then you're going to have people in there that are 150 years older, because the people who when we first started issuing Social Security numbers, all of those people will still be in the system. You can't take away the people from the system, because if you can, you lose vital data that you may need later on. So you can't do that. But I'm going to say that's the archive system. But he also said there's another system that is called the Master Benefits Records, which is the MBR system. The MBR is where all of the payments are made. And those are based on other criterias for people getting Social Security. And again, in that MBR, I'm quite sure that, because there were a couple of people in that MBR that were getting money that were on fraudulent claims. So yeah, there are some fraudulent stuff inside that MBR, which is fine. I'm not going to say it's fine, but which is fine. But they're not the 150-year-olds. They are people who do their benefits, or they're just people who are entitled. I seen from the hearing that Marjorie Taylor Greene said that there were criminals and gang members in other countries that are getting Social Security payments and stuff like that. And if they're getting them, the reason that they're getting them is because someone's created fraudulent Social Security numbers, put them in the system, and that's how they're getting it. Yeah, we're going to have that. That is, in this society, there's a lot of criminality. So we just come to grips with there's a lot of criminality. There are a lot of people that commit fraud on a daily basis, no matter what the agency, no matter what, the company, every governmental agencies or state agency, there's fraud everywhere. So we have to come to grips with that. We can't just say, oh, well, it's a lot of fraud in there, so we just need to stop the program. No, that's not how it should go. We should really be able to locate the fraud, find out how we can prevent it going forward, and then so that we have a better system. As right now, we don't have a good system because their computer programs are outdated. They are using programming that is totally outdated. So no, I think they're doing it and it's a good thing, but it's not being done properly, which makes it, not well for everyone. I'm just looking at my notes to see so that's with the Social Security where they're finding all this fraud. The other thing that I looked up was Medicaid, and that's a big thing now also, because they're talking about cutting Medicaid from the federal portion of Medicaid. Medicaid is funded partially by state government and federal governments. And they're talking about cutting the federal portion of Medicaid. And again, because they're saying that it's abuse. And that some of the people who are getting the Medicaid are on disability, which is another section of Social Security. And yeah, there are people probably getting Social Security disability that probably don't or shouldn't have it, if we say it that way. Sure, there's still some that's getting it that way. They're getting because the doctors didn't do their due diligence. They're not they're fraudulently submitting information for people saying that they're disabled when they're not, and we know that exists. So that gives them a disability check, as well as they can get Medicaid now because they're disabled, and that's a part of the Medicaid program. So yeah, we have a lot of cleaning up to do. But those are things that they're talking about now. They're also talking about having a work requirement for people who receive Medicaid. And already, from my understanding, there already is a work requirement, especially for states. In the states, the portion of the state, because there's already a work requirement. People who are receiving what they call the TANF, which is the basic welfare program for children, for families in need, there is a work requirement for those people. So they receive Medicaid as their health insurance, but they also are required to work based on the fact that they're receiving the TANF. Then there are other people that are drawing disability. If they're not totally disabled, if they're partially disabled or something, there are also work requirements. But there's some people who can't work. So it's going to be hard to require someone to work who are unable to work. It's going to be a difficult situation. I'm not sure how they're going to tackle that one where you're going to say you got to work, but you can't work. So you're totally disabled. And then the other part of that is, to me, we've also had people, the government as well as corporations, discontinue their DEI programs, which means, and part of DEI is with the disabled and making accommodations for people with disabilities. So if you're going to tell people with disabilities that they have to work, but we no longer will support you and being able to make sure that the company can accommodate you, we're sending the wrong message. We're sending, opposite messages, conflicting messages, which is not good. Why would you tell me that I have to work but then you're not going to give me a reasonable accommodation? It's just like I'm disabled and I want to work for the federal government, but you're not going to accommodate me based on my disability, but you want me to work to get my benefits. So let's make it make sense. Really think about what we're doing and think about, why we're doing it, because we're just doing these blanket things that really don't make sense. And I have been talking for a long time. And because sometimes I'm get kind of passionate about this because it's hard. It's like, does this really make sense to us? I understand that there's fraud, waste, abuse everywhere, and we need to clear it up. But I feel so bad for people who are losing their jobs behind this blanket thing saying, oh, we're just rooting out fraud. Everybody's not committing fraud. Most of those people at government jobs, they are doing their job. They are working. They're doing what they should do. They're doing what they were hired to do. I have a relative who just started working for the IRS. They went out today because they had an appointment with someone to go over their books. And I'm like, well, you might be, and they're in probationary status, and we already know that they're letting go all the probationary status people. So I wouldn't have went out there. I would have been called the person and said, well, I can't come today. And I wouldn't have gone. But that person, they went because they want to do their job. So they went to the person and doing the job that they're supposed to do. Using up gas. You don't know if you're going to get that gas, that reimbursement back or not, because you might be locked out of the system before you get back. Like, you never know. So yeah, most government workers are doing what they should do. And they're being punished through no fault of their own. Don't punish people because you didn't like a previous administration. I feel like that is so wrong, and it's so vindictive, and it's so nasty that we really have to do something about that. It's crazy. It's like, we shouldn't be doing that. We're punishing everyday people, and understand as these cuts happen, each and every one of us will be affected by it. Whether we get a government check, whether we get or we don't. Our corporations may have government contracts, or they may be that other places that have government contracts will no longer be able to complete their missions. So we will all wind up suffering. The housing market with all these tariffs and all the different things, we will all start suffering eventually. The automobile industry, everything is going to suffer. And back when the automobile industry suffered and the different things like that, the government was there to bail them out. They're not going to bail them out this time. So they're going to fail. And then there's not going to be, and the banks, they could fail as well. because we won't have money to put in the bank. But and that's not funny. But the banks could fail. So when you know back in 2008 when everyone was too large to fail, now everybody can fail. And it's going to be okay because our government is not going to give them a hand up, a handout. They're not giving us a hand up or a handout. But in any event, I've been talking for 20 minutes, so I'm not going to go any further. I will probably do a part 2 that won't be as ranty as this one. But again, like I said, I get passionate about this, and I could go on and on and on. But again, thank you for stopping by Miss B's Corner. I hope I haven't offended anybody. Again, it's not my intention at all. These are my opinions, and it's how I think and how I feel. And that's basically it. So I'm not trying to get in anybody's way of what you believe or what you think, because we all, again, have different experiences that we've lived throughout our lives. But thank you. You have a good day, and stop by again. Give me a like and a subscribe, and hopefully the next one, you'll like that one better. Thank you.